Chapter 17 of Mental Fascination. Recording by Sandra Knight. www.sandraknight.net. Mental Fascination by William Walker Atkinson. Chapter 17. Direct Personal Influence. In the last chapter I spoke of the effect of mental atmospheres with which people may and do surround themselves. You will notice that in my discussion of that part of the subject I spoke only of the general influence exerted upon others, and not of the direct personal influence exerted by one man upon another in personal intercourse. The present chapter and those following it shall be devoted to the part of the subject just referred to, the direct personal influence. The silent mental conflict. As I have told you elsewhere, every time two people meet there ensues a silent mental conflict, or struggle for supremacy, from which one or the other emerges a victor, and which victory is fully recognized by both of the parties to the proceeding. The mental struggle is usually the combat between the general mental powers of the two, without regard to special mental states induced at the time. But the man who is skilled in the art of mental fascination goes further than this, for he recognizes that he may concentrate his mentative energy into different shape and form, and focus the force of his mental imagery direct upon the other person, with such force and power that the second person will have a similar mental state induced in him, along the lines familiar to the students of this book. The lines of operation. This direct personal influence operates along the lines of both desire force and will power. Of course, I have explained elsewhere how the will power may be used to awaken desire in another, and how it may also capture the will of the second person. I have also explained how desire force induces a similar desire in the second person, and also how it is often used to captivate the will of the other person. It is not necessary for me to repeat these things. You are supposed to be fully acquainted with them from your study of this book and mental magic, and so I shall proceed to a consideration of the instruments of expression of personal influence, and the methods usually employed by those using it. The instruments of expression. These instruments of expression may be classified as follows: 1. Suggestive instruments, consisting of A. The suggestive manner, and B. The suggestive tone, and C. The suggestive word. 2. The instrument of the eye. 3. The instrument of the touch. And all of these three forms are, of course, merely the instruments by which and through which the mind expresses itself, the channel through which pours the mentative energy. Let us consider them in the above order. Suggestive instruments. I will ask you now to turn to my chapter on Mental Suggestion, in my work on Mental Magic. You will see therein stated the active principles of Mental Suggestion, with which you should thoroughly familiarize yourself, for I shall not repeat the instructions in this book. You will see there that Suggestion is the outward symbol of the inward mental state, and that it is the inner state that gives vitality to the suggestion. Get this idea fixed firmly in your mind, and always think of the force behind the suggestion. I have explained to you also that when one receives a suggestion through a physical agent, he has induced in himself the mental state corresponding to the one originating that physical suggestion. For example, if you feel yourself filled with confidence, energy, and fearlessness, your outward appearance will reflect that inner state, and the outer appearance will become a suggestion to others. These others will instinctively feel that your inner state is as I have stated. And this being so, a physical suggestion made stronger than usual will produce a deeper impression on others than would any ordinary suggestion. The suggestive manner. In view of the above, you will see why it is that those familiar with the subject deem it important to cultivate the suggestive instruments. Beginning with A. The suggestive manner, you will see why it is that we are impressed with the manner of a man who manifests energy, self-confidence, and power in every motion, and also why we have confidence in a man whose manner indicates that he is a person used to being trusted by others, accustomed to having confidence reposed in him. And so I might mention hundreds of examples tending to show that if a man's manner conveys the impression that he is used to being treated in a certain way, and that he is accustomed to acting in a certain way, we are very apt to accept the suggestion of manner and fall into line with the rest of people. And if the man happens to be a good actor, we may be imposed upon and fooled by his suggestive manner. The rule works both ways. Not only does this law hold good in the case of the manner and appearance of success, strength, confidence, etc., but it also operates along the lines of the appearance and manner of failure, weakness, and distrust. Do you not know of cases wherein you have felt that certain persons were not worthy of confidence, or were not to be depended upon where strength of character was required, or were not likely to succeed? Of course you have, and you acted upon the suggestion too. An illustration. In illustrating this point, I have frequently used the illustration of the two dogs, the one carrying himself in a manner betokening self-respect, and an ability to prevent and resent undue liberties, and the other carrying his tail between his legs in a manner and appearance indicating that he expected to be kicked and cuffed. The first dog is almost invariably treated with respect, even by the most mischievous youngsters, while the second one almost always invites to himself the kicks, tin cans, and brickbats of the young hoodlums of the neighborhood. And this illustration is as true in the case of people as in the case of dogs. Better take the hint. How to acquire this manner? But you may say, how is one to acquire the proper suggestive manner? My answer is that there is but one sure way, and that is to begin to think out the part, visualize it, and act it out. You will see the philosophy of this in my lesson on Mental Architecture, in my work on Mental Magic. In other words, if you wish to convey a suggestive manner of confidence, you must begin to think confidence from morning until night, and you must also begin to visualize confidence when you have the chance to do so. That is, you must make a mental picture of yourself as manifesting confidence, and you must also begin to act out the part. Acting out your part. Now, about this acting out, I would say that I mean not only the playing the part in your interviews with people, but I also mean an actual series of rehearsals in private, just as you would do if you were preparing to play a part on the stage in public. You must form a mental image of how you would look and act if you were filled with confidence and were approaching people. You will find that practice will improve you very much in this way, and that you will soon acquire a manner that will be like second nature, and will really serve to give the suggestion of your manner to others with whom you come in contact. And more than this, it will actually tend to build up confidence in yourself. Imagine yourself as approaching strange people, and then act out the part the best you know how, improving a little in ease and smoothness of action each day. Think of how the actor on the stage impresses you, and then remember that the manner was acquired by constant practice and work. And you may do the same, and may manage to impress other people just as the actor does you. And what is true in the case of confidence is true regarding any character that you wish to play. Any and all characters may be played out in this way, and an appearance and manner acquired which will give the suggestion to others. I wish I could make you realize how much there is in this method. If you could realize how some men have used it to acquire qualities that have enabled them to prey upon the public, you would realize how important it might be for you for legitimate and honorable use. Practice makes perfect. In this acting out, you must remember that the practice will make you so perfect that the part will appear natural when you play it in public. But without practice, an attempt to play it in public will make one ridiculous. Remember the illustration of the real actor, and you will have the secret of acting out. And also remember this, that in the measure that you throw your mind into the part, so will be your success. When you practice, you must throw your mind into the acting just as you would if you were in earnest. It is the mind back of it all, remember. The suggestive tone. The suggestive instrument is the suggestive tone. This too may be acquired by acting out. You must practice until you are able to express your meaning with feeling, that all who hear may be impressed. You should begin your practice by choosing some simple words in everyday use. Good morning, for instance. Try it now and see how roughly, clumsily, and crudely you give the morning greeting. Then try to imagine that you are full of good cheer, energy, and brightness, and then throw your feeling into your "good morning," and see how different it seems. Practice this a while, and you will soon acquire a natural, cheery, bright, and invigorating tone when you say "good morning." You will not need a teacher in elocution to tell you how to do this. Try to feel the part, and you will express it naturally. Make your feelings more flexible, and your tones will reflect them. After you have mastered the simpler terms of expression, work up to larger sentences and speeches. Try them on the chairs in your room, in imagining that people are seated therein. Speak to them feelingly and with expression until you acquire the art. You will not realize how much you may gain by such practice until you actually try it. I wish that you could hear the testimony of some people to whom I have taught this thing. The importance of it. There is nothing more important in personal influence than a good suggestive tone. Think of the people that you know, and then remember what an influence their voices have on you. Not only the quality of the voice, but the tone. You readily recognize the difference between the tone of the hesitating, timid, self-doubting person and that of the confident, self-reliant individual. There is a subtle vibration about the tone of the latter that causes one to feel confidence and respect, and which exacts obedience in a quiet, calm way, devoid of bluster or rant. Read what I have said on this subject in my lesson on Personal Influence in my work on Mental Magic. Examples of its use. If you will read the part of the present book dealing with psychological experimentation, you will see that much depends upon the tone. You will see that when you say to a subject, "You can't," the tone in which you say "can't" goes a long way toward producing the response. And so it is with the suggestive tone, no matter what it is made to express. It always impresses upon one that the speaker using it means what he says. And that is why many public men practice year after year in mastering this instrument of influence, the suggestive tone. Again, I would refer you to the example of the actor. See how he manages to throw feeling into his tone. And you may do likewise if you will but practice in earnest and throw your mind into the work. Think of the thing you wish to express, visualize it, and then act it out in your tone. You will be surprised at the rapid progress that you will make. Remember always, though, the tone is but the instrument of expression of the mind back of it. Use nerves, not muscles. Many people make the mistake of speaking with the muscles instead of with their nerves. As one writer has expressed it, in other words, they seem to throw muscular force into their tones instead of nervous energy, and in so doing they make a great mistake, for the former has a dull, non-penetrating effect, whereas the latter vibrates subtly and reaches the feeling part of one's mind. Feel, 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 when you wish to speak impressively, and your tones will reflect the same, and induce a corresponding feeling in others. The suggestive word. The third form of the suggestive instrument is the suggestive word. I may be able to explain this more clearly when I call your attention to the fact that each word is a crystallized. In every word there is an imprisoned thought. And when you lodge a word in the mind of another person, the crystal covering is dissolved, and the released thought manifests itself. And this being so, it becomes important for one to carefully choose the crystallized thoughts or words which he wishes to implant in the mind of another. I have spoken of this in my larger work in my lesson on Mental Suggestion, to which I refer you. But I wish here to say to you again that you should study words until you are able to distinguish between those which carry a live, active feeling thought and those less strong. Examples. Take the word strong, for instance. Does it not make you feel strength when you hear it forcibly and feelingly pronounced? Take the word kind. and see what feelings it arouses in you. Pronounce the words lion and lamb, and see the different feelings you experience from the differing sounds. Take the word crash, and see how it suggests the crashing, crunching, tearing, startling thing for which it stands. Compare the sound of the words rough and smooth, and you will see what I mean. The only way that I can point out to you to acquire the use of suggestive words is to study words themselves. Listen to the words used by others and note their effect on you. Take a small dictionary and run over its pages, and you will soon have a collection of good, strong, effective terms for handy use when occasion demands. A man does not have to be highly educated in the usual sense of that term in order to use strong, suggestive words. Some instinctively choose vital words charged with feeling, and such make their words felt. Think over this matter. Nutshell instructions. In the use of all the 3 suggestive instruments, remember that the object is to make others feel the mental state you are expressing. That is the whole thing in a nutshell. End of Chapter 17. Recording by Sandra Knight. www.sandraknight.net